The fluorescent lights of Lincoln High School cast harsh shadows across the empty hallways at 11:47 p.m. Most people never see a school at this hour, the way silence settles into the lockers like dust, the way moonlight cuts through classroom windows and paints geometry on linoleum floors. But Marcus Webb sees it every night. He pushes his cart down the main corridor, the squeaking wheel echoing off the walls. 62 years old, shoulders permanently rounded from decades of mopping floors and emptying trash cans. His uniform is clean but worn, the name tag reading simply M. Webb in faded letters. The students call him Ghost when they think he can't hear. Not because he's scary, but because he seems to disappear into the background of their lives. Just another fixture, like the water fountains or the trophy cases. They don't know that Marcus Webb once wore a different uniform. They don't know about the Bronze Star gathering dust in a shoebox under his bed, or the Purple Heart he earned in a place called Firebase Alpha, where boys became men in the span of a heartbeat, or didn't become anything at all. They don't know that every morning when his shift ends, he drives 15 miles to a small cemetery outside town and places a single white rose on a grave marked Thomas Webb, age 19, beloved son. Marcus learned long ago that some wounds never heal, they just teach you to walk differently. He stops at locker 247, where someone has spray-painted faggot in angry red letters. He's seen this before, too many times. The maintenance request will take weeks to process, and until then, some kid will walk these halls carrying that word like a weight in their chest. Marcus looks around the empty hallway, then reaches into his cart. He pulls out a small bottle of solvent and begins scrubbing. The paint fights him, but he's patient. Time is something he has plenty of. 20 minutes later, the word is gone. The locker looks clean, unmarked. Ready for tomorrow. As he wheels his cart toward the next building, Marcus doesn't notice the security camera in the corner, its red light blinking steadily in the darkness. 3 weeks later, the storm hits. Not the kind that brings rain and wind, but the kind that starts with a cell phone video and spreads like wildfire through teenage social media accounts. The kind that divides a small town into camps and makes people choose sides. It begins with Jake Morrison, a 17-year-old linebacker who's been struggling with questions he can't answer, feelings he can't name. When he finally finds the courage to tell his best friend the truth about who he is, the friend records it, posts it, captions it with laughing emojis and slurs. By Monday morning, Jake Morrison is the most famous person in Lincoln, Montana, for all the wrong reasons. He doesn't come to school that day. Or the next. The hallways buzz with whispers and cruelty. Social media becomes a battlefield. Parents demand meetings. School board members make statements about protecting traditional values. The local news picks up the story. Marcus watches it all unfold from his invisible perch. He sees the students who whisper support but won't say it out loud. He sees the teachers who want to help but fear for their jobs. He sees the way silence becomes complicity, the way good people can become bystanders to cruelty. On Wednesday night, as he's emptying trash cans near the main office, Marcus overhears Principal Martinez on the phone with the superintendent. "No, I understand the pressure. Yes, the parents are angry. I know what the board wants. Fine. We'll handle it quietly. No assemblies, no statements. Let it blow over." Marcus's hands tighten on the trash bag. He thinks about his son Tommy, who died in a helicopter crash in Afghanistan before he could come home and tell his father the secrets he'd been carrying. The letters Marcus found afterward, never sent, addressed to a boy named David. Love letters written in shaking handwriting, full of fear and hope and dreams that would never come true. He thinks about the promise he made at Tommy's graveside, to live better, to be better, to honor the son who died believing his father could never accept who he really was. That night, Marcus doesn't go home after his shift. Instead, he sits in his truck in the empty parking lot, watching the sunrise paint the mountains gold. He thinks about invisibility, about the power of being overlooked. Sometimes the best position to change the world is the one nobody's watching. Friday morning, 7:30 a.m. Students pour through the front doors of Lincoln High School, their eyes immediately drawn to something impossible. The main hallway has been transformed. Covering every inch of the walls are photographs, hundreds of them. Pictures of people throughout history who changed the world not in spite of who they were, but because of it. Harvey Milk and Bayard Rustin. Alan Turing and Sally Ride. Rock Hudson and Ellen DeGeneres. Local heroes too, teachers, doctors, firefighters, soldiers. A rainbow of human courage and achievement. At the center of it all, a simple sign: every student in this school deserves to walk these halls with dignity. Principal Martinez storms down the corridor, his face red with panic. Who did this? Who authorized this? But the answer is already spreading through the crowd of students. Security footage from the past week shows the same figure working night after night, a man in a janitor's uniform, carefully, lovingly, hanging each photograph with the precision of someone who understands that details matter. Marcus Webb. The Invisible Man. Within hours, the story explodes beyond the school walls. The security footage goes viral, not for mockery this time, but for something else entirely. The image of a school janitor working alone in the darkness, creating something beautiful and brave, touches something deep in people's hearts. The phone calls start pouring in. Not angry ones this time, but supportive ones. Alumni who want to help. Parents who had been afraid to speak up. Students from other schools sharing their own stories. By the time the school board holds its emergency meeting that evening, the room is packed. Not with protesters demanding the display be taken down, but with people demanding it stay up. Jake Morrison is there too, sitting in the front row with his parents. He looks different somehow, not healed, but hopeful. He stands up when the public comment period begins. "I've been invisible my whole life," he says, his voice shaking but strong. Invisible to myself, invisible to people who were supposed to love me no matter what. But this week, someone saw me. Someone I didn't even know was watching. He turns to look at Marcus, who sits quietly in the back row, still in his work uniform. "You made me visible, Mr. Webb. And I want to thank you." The room erupts in applause, but Marcus barely hears it. He's thinking about Tommy, about the letters he never got to read while his son was alive. About the conversations they never had, the acceptance that came too late. But maybe it's never too late to get it right for someone else. The school board votes unanimously to keep the display. More than that, they vote to make it permanent, to create a scholarship fund for students who demonstrate courage in the face of adversity. They ask Marcus to help choose the recipients. As the meeting ends and people file out, many stop to shake Marcus's hand, to thank him. He nods politely, still uncomfortable with the attention. Jake Morrison is the last to approach him. "Why?" the boy asks. "Why did you do it?" Marcus looks at this young man who reminds him so much of another boy, one who died believing he was alone. "Because everyone deserves to be seen," Marcus says quietly. "And sometimes the people who need seeing most are the ones everybody else looks right through." He pauses, then adds, "My son never got the chance to know that he was loved exactly as he was. I can't change that. But maybe I can change it for you." Jake Morrison nods, tears in his eyes. He doesn't say anything else, but he doesn't need to. Some conversations happen in the silence between words. As Marcus drives home that night, he takes his usual detour to the cemetery. But this time, when he places the white rose on Tommy's grave, he has something else to leave behind. It's a photo, one of many that didn't make it onto the school walls. A picture of a young soldier in Vietnam, barely 18, smiling at the camera despite everything he'd seen. On the back, in faded ink, someone had written, "To Dad, I love you. I hope someday I'm brave enough to tell you everything. Your son, Tommy." Marcus had found it in the box with the other letters, the ones he'd been too afraid to read for 15 years. Now he knows what his son was trying to tell him. And more importantly, he knows it doesn't change anything about how much he loved that boy. He places the photo against the headstone, then sits back on his heels. "I see you now, son," he whispers. "I see you, and you're perfect. In the distance, the first light of dawn touches the mountains, and for the first time in years, Marcus Webb doesn't feel invisible at all. They say heroes wear capes, but the real ones wear uniforms that most people never notice. They mop floors and empty trash cans and work the night shift while the world sleeps. They carry their own pain quietly, transforming it into something beautiful for strangers who will never know their names. Marcus Webb understood something that most of us forget, that the deepest act of courage isn't saving someone from a burning building or charging into battle. It's seeing someone who feels invisible and choosing to make them visible. It's taking your own broken heart and using it to heal another person's. In a world that often feels divided by anger and fear, Marcus reminds us that change doesn't always come from the people with the loudest voices or the biggest platforms. Sometimes it comes from the quietest corners, from the people we overlook, from the hands that work in darkness to create light. He couldn't save his son, but he saved someone else's. And in doing so, he saved himself. The photographs still hang in the hallways of Lincoln High School. Jake Morrison graduated valedictorian and went on to become a counselor, specializing in LGBTQ+ youth. The scholarship fund has helped dozens of students find their voices. And Marcus Webb? He still works the night shift. But he's not invisible anymore. At least, not to the people who matter. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is show up for someone who thinks they're alone. Sometimes the greatest victory is simply being seen. If this story moved you, like and subscribe to The Soul Script. Drop a snow-capped mountain or red heart in the comments below and tell us, who is your quiet hero?